All right, look who's on location. It's my man Diggs. He's, I guess, if you weren't ranked number one in 5A Division One, he's afraid that you're going to come after him, so he took off out of town. That's typical Diggsy. He's out of
That is the smart thing to do. Release the rankings and get out, because here we are. Here we are in Southern Maryland on location.
Well, it looks nice and sunny out there. It looks nice and sunny here as well. And it's nice and sunny in Denton Rhineland because they, as we saw yesterday, were ranked number one by Diggs in North Texas. And as we pull up the rankings right now, you will see that the top 15 teams that, as seen by Professor Diggs. And just before you started ranking 3 through 1, or before we released 3 through 1, you said, I guess you guys probably can guess which of those 3 teams are, but you might not know what order they're going to be in. So those 3, that makes me feel like you feel those 3 teams are fairly close. Why did you go Ryan, Aledo, Longview, 1, 2, 3? Let's just start off with that.
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's one I struggled with in creating the rankings. For me, Longview at 3 was a pretty solid one. Longview just hasn't had that big win over a team like Denton Ryan. I mean, they played Denton Ryan twice last year. The second game was more competitive than the first game, but the first game, Denton Ryan just completely smacked them around. And the second game, the score I think was a little bit closer than the actual competition was. So I think when you look at what Longview's got coming back this year, you look at what Denton Ryan's coming back this year, I think Denton Ryan over Longview at the very least is a no-brainer. I know the AP poll has Longview number 1, and I think when you got Jalen Hale and some of those, just absolute playmakers coming back for Longview, they deserve a lot of effusive praise. But at the end of the day, I use Ric Flair theory in a lot of my life. To be the man, you got to beat the man, and Longview has not beaten the man in a little while. They are a fantastic team. I'm looking forward to watching them this year. Jalen Hale on those jump ball things is just like something you don't see anywhere. But at the same time, Denton Ryan is really strong on the defensive side of the ball. I don't think they have one player that can specifically neutralize some of their playmakers. But when you look at Denton Ryan's defense, I think they're going to match up very well against Longview. Now, the tougher question for me was Denton Ryan versus Aledo, because Aledo from 1 to 22, if you look at our article that we have on social media about the players to watch, and you look at Aledo, it's almost as big as South Oak Cliffs, just with all of the players that they have, who are probably going to see a college offer or just be a fantastic high school player. From 1 to 22, I think Aledo is a better team than Denton Ryan, but I think Denton Ryan's top 10 players are a little bit better than Aledo. And when they play, playmakers make plays. And if you need somebody to strip a ball, if you remember that Aledo versus South Oak Cliff game, they the quarterback got the ball stripped at that last, just a defensive player getting in there and stopping Aledo's offensive momentum. That's what you need in those big games. And I think Denton Ryan has those playmakers with Anthony Hill in there and, Caden Kelly, Marquise Hill. I think they have that. So I got to give Denton Ryan just a slight edge over Aledo, but the fact I think we're going to be able to see that game twice is going to be fun football both times.
Yeah, they'll get to challenge your rankings not once, but probably twice in the postseason. Now, as we were releasing these, the one ranking that the fans gave you the most beef about was the Midlothian fans weren't as happy with being at 8. Maybe not happy, but they're like, okay, we have something to prove here because Dixie got us at 8. Do they have a legitimate beef?
I don't think they had a legitimate beef at all. Midlothian, has always been a competitive game. If you remember, just a few years ago, Leto's very epic district win streak, which has a really good chance of being snapped this year. It was Midlothian that had the last legitimate chance to snap that. But I think Midlothian, when you look at them, I heard reports from spring ball that this is their biggest, their strongest team ever, their most talented team ever. But at the same time, when you look at the teams above them, who could you legitimately say, oh, that team definitely deserves to be below them? Lancaster has a little bit to prove for me this year, but they got so many good, talented players coming back, as well as a couple of key transfers going into there. So I think that's one team that you could talk about. And I think another argument that I think is fair that's kind of related to Midlothian is Frisco Lone Star versus Frisco Wakeland. Which of those two teams should have been ranked higher, because when you look at their common opponents last year, especially at the end, Frisco Wakeland played College Station a lot better than Frisco Lone Star did. But I just really like what Frisco Lone Star has returning, as well as their infrastructure for winning. Frisco Wakeland has a couple of questions with the new coach. Coach Secord retired over the offseason. It was kind of a late retirement. So I'm a little bit skeptical about Frisco Wakeland and how they're going to compete with the top dogs, but they're a fantastic team. Their offense is going to be one of the best offenses in the state, and I think they're going to be able to go blow for blow with anyone. So I think that might be one we look at that maybe they should have been ranked higher than Lone Star, but I defer to the gold and blue starred Rangers for the early rankings.
Yeah, he's wearing their colors too. Isn't that something special?
I think I said gold, the blue and silver starred.
Okay, there you go.
I always got Plano East in my heart, so I gotta get gold out wherever I can.
There you go. All right, well, before we move on, through 1 through 15, I guess I asked this the last time in Division II. Any team that you think that you're kind of shaky on, that you may think has a better chance for movement up or down early on or towards the end of the season?
Well, I know this is going to make you mad, Ward, because we've had debates about, if we should be ranking Lake Belton. But Lake Belton is just such an unknown because they haven't played varsity football. I go back to Katy Pato and Shadow Creek and some of those Houston area schools that have been very much like the Lake Belton formula, where you build them up and by the second year of their program, they have 6A numbers, but they're competing in 5A Division I. They go and they go for a state championship with a really talented crew and good coaches and new facilities. And Lake Belton kind of is like that for me. I think of Hebron back when they opened up in 2000, how they just immediately jumped out of and played good football early. So Lake Belton, even though they're not a traditional Dallas or North Texas area team, they will be competing in that District 4-5A with area teams. I think they're going to be a team to watch out for. And I think we might be hearing from some Red Oak fans who might be like, well, what about us? Why aren't we ranked there? But I am in love with Lake Belton's skill talent, and Red Oak had a little bit of a shaky season last year. I think Red Oak, since they didn't make the playoffs, they need to prove that they earned that ranking as opposed to just be given that ranking, whereas Lake Belton has the talent to substantiate the ranking. And I think we could even see one of the Killeen teams, maybe a Killeen Shoemaker, hanging out at number 15 by the end of the year. If things go well in that district, because I think that's going to be a stronger and more competitive district than a lot of people think.
Well, there you have it, man. We went through 5A with picking Professor Dick's mind. We went through Division I, Division II. You got our top 15 teams there, and tomorrow we start 6A. We're going to give you more than we got from 5A, because we're doing top 25. Diggs have ranked them all from 1 through 25. We're going to start with 25 tomorrow and lead you right up to the season. Again, that subscribe button at the bottom, man. You click on that. Like every time a ranking comes out, Dix breaks down the team, what their biggest games are, their biggest strengths and weaknesses. You can read that every single time. And I believe you told me 25. We're starting off with a bang. So if you're ready for some 6A rankings, Diggs got you starting tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, you look at 6A rankings starting tomorrow, and there's a little bit of theatrics to what we do, and it's not to say that this team doesn't deserve a 25 ranking, but I think it's going to get people talking, and I think it's a legitimate thing that we're going to be talking about. I don't think this is not just me pushing buttons just to push buttons, and I think once you read my article, maybe you'll see a little bit of the logic in that. But if I'm wrong, let me know on social media, and I'll be happy to hear your case and put it where it needs to be, place it in my heart where it needs to be for when the actual season starts. We'll see who's right.
Absolutely. So we'll have a ranking every day from here to the beginning of the season. We'll talk about it as soon as number 1 is announced. We'll have another little video and talk about that. So be sure to comment on everything you see coming through 25 through 1, and all that starts tomorrow. So thanks for joining us, Dixie, and we can't wait to see what you got going for us tomorrow.
Thank you for having me again.